I'm a 35-year-old woman, and I've always been close to my niece Claire. She's 13 now, and ever since she was little, we've had this thing, baking cookies together, decorating cupcakes, doing ridiculous DIY kits that never turned out like the pictures, but we always laughed through them anyway. I don't have kids of my own, and honestly, I never expected to. But Claire? She's like a part of my soul. I live about 20 minutes away from my sister's house, so Claire used to spend weekends with me all the time. We had our traditions. Saturday mornings were for pancakes and music, oldies one week, Broadway musicals the next. Then we'd try out new baking recipes or make messy crafts that somehow ended up glued to my fridge. At night, we'd curl up for a movie marathon, and she'd fall asleep halfway through with cookie dough still on her sleeve. Everything started to shift this summer, and not in a slow fade sort of way, more like a snap. Our parents hosted a barbecue in July, one of those extended family things with lawn chairs and too much potato salad. Claire was running around with her cousins, and I was sitting next to my sister Stephanie, just chatting. I brought up this idea I'd been planning for a while, a baking-themed hangout for Claire's upcoming 14th birthday. Something chill, not a big party, just Claire, her close friends, and some fun in the kitchen with frosting flying everywhere. I pictured her calling the shots, running her own cupcake challenge, just like the ones we used to do when she was younger. Stephanie looked at me like I had 3 heads. She laughed, waved me off, and said Claire was too old for that now. Said they already had plans with family. Then she looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're just the aunt. Let the parents handle this." No one else seemed to hear her. They just kept munching on chips or chasing toddlers. I didn't say anything back. What was there to say? She'd never exactly loved how close Claire and I were, but this felt different, deliberate. After that, I started getting left out of group messages. Normally, the family texts would include me details about birthday plans, school events, casual get-togethers. Suddenly, I was hearing about things secondhand. When I asked if something was wrong, Stephanie just said Claire was maturing and I needed to let go of the old dynamic. She actually told me I was trying too hard to be relevant. One night, a few days later, I got a message from Claire. She just said, "Hey, are we still doing our baking day soon?" I stared at the screen for a while. Part of me didn't know what to say. I didn't want to put her in the middle, didn't want to make things harder for her at home. But I also knew I wasn't doing anything wrong. Claire wanted to spend time with me. She missed our thing. That mattered. So I decided I wasn't going to ask permission anymore. I wasn't planning a birthday party. I wasn't doing anything in secret. I was just making a space for my niece to feel like herself. I booked a local community kitchen space, small, clean, tucked away inside a neighborhood center. I dipped into some extra savings I had from my last work bonus. I kept the invite list tight, just Claire, a few of her closest friends, and 2 of our younger cousins who always came to my baking nights. I called it All the Things We Love. Each baking station had its own apron, custom designed with little cupcakes and the girls' names embroidered across the front. I prepped decorating kits with different types of sprinkles and frosting tips. I made a playlist of Claire's favorite songs, the ones she used to sing at the top of her lungs in my kitchen when she thought no one was listening. I didn't tell Stephanie. I knew she'd blow up. But this wasn't a competition. Her official birthday gathering was the day after. This wasn't about stealing the spotlight. It was about making sure Claire didn't feel like her options were either a stiff, formal dinner or nothing at all. She was turning 14. That weird in-between age where everyone expects you to grow up too fast but still treats you like a kid when it's convenient. I just wanted her to have a few hours where she could be herself, no pressure, no speeches, no matching outfits. I printed the invitations myself and planned to hand one to Claire at her piano recital. That's when everything really kicked off. But even before the drama started, even before Stephanie found out and made it messy, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to disappear from Claire's life just because someone else felt threatened by how much she loved me. I gave Claire the envelope after her piano recital. The performance had gone well, and everyone was standing around chatting, taking pictures, and handing her flowers. I waited until she had a quiet moment, then passed it to her with a small smile. She opened it right there, light blue paper, some glittery cupcake stickers, and the words Claire Me, a baking bash across the top. She read it, then looked up grinning. The first thing she asked was if she could bring Emma, her best friend from school. I told her of course. She hugged me and tucked it carefully into her music folder like it was something important. Stephanie arrived a few minutes later. She was late, still in work clothes, holding her phone in one hand and her car keys in the other. She didn't say anything to me, but she glanced over at Claire, then back at me. Nothing dramatic, just a sharp pause in the air between us. Then she turned to greet someone else. The next morning, my phone rang before 9. It was Stephanie. She'd found the invitation. From the sound of her voice, she already had the version of the story she wanted. I explained that it wasn't a birthday party, that Claire and I had been planning to bake together for months. The word party wasn't even on the invite. It was just a baking afternoon. Claire, a few close friends, some cousins. Nothing big. That didn't land. She said I was pulling focus, that I wasn't the parent, that I needed to stop pretending I was more important than I was. Then she ended the call. A few hours later, I got a message from Claire. Just a short text from her iPad, "I'm grounded. Mom found out." She's mad about everything. I didn't respond right away. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't want Claire thinking she had to fight this alone. I just sent back, "Don't worry. We'll figure something out." That afternoon, my cousin April called. She asked if I'd heard what Stephanie had been saying. Apparently, Stephanie told a few people that I was trying to replace her and that I was crossing boundaries by getting too involved. April thought the whole thing was ridiculous. "You've always been part of Claire's life," she said. "This isn't new." I decided to tweak the theme a little, just in case. I changed the name on the invitations from Claire Me, a baking bash, to Aunt Niece Hangout Bash, and widened the invite list to include a few more family members. I figured if more people were involved, it wouldn't feel like I was sneaking around. I texted a few of our cousins, asked if their kids wanted to join. Everyone seemed excited, and nobody had any issue with the date. Later that night, Claire messaged me again. This time she wrote, "I want to come even if Mom says no." She'd found a way to get online from her school's computer lab without alerting anyone at home. I didn't want her sneaking out or getting into more trouble, so I told her straight, if you can't make it, we'll plan something later. Just us. I promise. The biggest surprise came after dinner. I was in the kitchen cleaning up when my phone buzzed with a text from Jason, Stephanie's husband. We've always had a polite, mostly distant relationship. He keeps to himself at family stuff and never really weighs in on the drama. But the message was clear. He said he thought the way Stephanie was handling things wasn't fair, and that Claire should be allowed to have strong relationships with people who love her. Then he said, do your thing. Don't let this stop you. After that, something shifted. I went back to planning like nothing had happened. I finalized the cupcake challenge, Claire's idea, something we talked about months earlier. Each team would decorate their own batch of cupcakes and name them something silly, like Chocolate Disaster or Sprinkle Mayhem. I ordered a custom apron just for Claire. It had little whisk patterns across the bottom and her name in script across the top. I picked up cupcake boxes, extra piping bags, and colorful flags the kids could use to label their creations. My living room started looking like a bakery exploded in it. The next morning, I sent out one final group text to the people who were invited. Reminder, Saturday at 2 p.m. We're baking, we're laughing, and there will be frosting everywhere. Bring your sweet tooth. I didn't hear anything else from Stephanie. Not a text, not a call. Nothing from Claire either, which made me nervous. But I figured, at that point, I'd done everything I could. Either she'd be there or she wouldn't. But the party was happening. No drama, no speeches, just sugar, laughter, and a bunch of kids having fun. That was the plan. I got to the rented kitchen lounge around 9 in the morning, 3 hours before anyone else was supposed to arrive. It was a clean, open space with big prep counters, full ovens, and a long wall of windows that let the light in just right. I set up the cupcake stations first, one for each girl. Name cards went out in pastel holders, each one placed next to a custom apron folded over a chair. Claire had helped design the little Cartoon Whisk logo months earlier, back when the whole thing was just a maybe. I lined the counters with trays of piping bags, jars of rainbow sprinkles, edible glitter, and a dozen different cupcake toppers. I clipped up fairy lights around the cabinets and hung pastel flags across the entryway. Printed recipe cards went at each station, and I made sure to set up a playlist on the speakers that Claire had built on my old phone: Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, some retro pop hits, and that one baking show theme song she always plays on loop. It was all ready by 11:30. The plan was for the kids to start arriving around noon. Claire showed up at 11 after telling Jason earlier that morning she needed to pick something up from a friend's house. He didn't question it. She came in through the side door with her backpack on one shoulder and her hair still a little wet like she'd just jumped out of the shower. No coat, no explanation. She just walked in, spotted the setup, and dropped her bag in the corner like it was the most normal thing in the world. She didn't say much at first, just handed me a folded piece of paper and said she'd left it on the kitchen counter at home. It was a note for Stephanie. Then she pulled her hair up into a bun, put on her apron, and started organizing cupcake liners without being asked. I stepped outside to call Jason. He didn't sound surprised. Said Claire had told him she was going and he didn't see a reason to stop her. I asked if Stephanie knew. He just said she would soon. By noon, the other kids started showing up. Emma came with her mom, who looked around at the setup like it was a professional bakery. A couple of cousins came in with their older siblings. One of them brought a Polaroid camera and started taking pictures of the frosting disaster zone before it even began. Once it kicked off, the place turned into full chaos in the best possible way. Flour everywhere. Frosting fights. One group mixed crushed pretzels into chocolate batter and called it Salty Sweet Storm. Claire and Emma made lemon cupcakes with raspberry swirl and built a mini stand out of cardboard to sell them to the others for jelly beans. Someone turned the trivia cards into a game of dares. There was music, spilled milk, and frosting on the windows somehow. Around 2:30, while things were winding down, I called everyone to the big table for juice and a final round of judging. Claire sat at the head, giving out funny awards like most likely to be banned from cupcake wars and best use of sprinkles in self-defense. Then I handed her a small box wrapped in parchment paper and tied with a ribbon. Inside was a recipe book. It had a floral cover and the title Our Sweetest Moments embossed on the front. I'd filled it with pictures of our baking adventures over the years, some printed from old photo albums, some pulled from social media, some she didn't even know I had. I added little notes next to each photo, like the time she dropped a whole bowl of batter on the floor, and we still baked what was left, or the time we tried to make cinnamon rolls and forgot the cinnamon. She didn't say anything, just opened it slowly, flipped through a few pages, and hugged me without letting go for a full minute. A few of the kids took pictures of their cupcake creations and posted them online. One of the cousins tagged me. Another tagged Claire. It didn't take long. Around 6 p.m., Claire's phone, while her iPad, started lighting up with messages. I didn't see them, but I heard the vibration over and over. Then my phone buzzed. A few texts in a row. Stephanie had found out. She wasn't asking. She was demanding Claire come home. Claire ignored it. I told her she had to call. Not to argue, not to fight, just to talk. She went into the hallway and called. It didn't last long. When she came back, she just said, she's mad. But I told her I'm staying. I told her I'm allowed to care about more than one person. About an hour later, we heard a car honk outside the building. Twice. I looked out the window. Stephanie's car. She didn't get out. Just sat there for a minute, then drove away. Claire stayed over that night. I didn't push her to talk. I made grilled cheese and left her favorite blanket out on the couch. She watched a movie and fell asleep halfway through. The next day, Stephanie hosted her official birthday party. I wasn't invited. Claire didn't go. She just looked at me that morning and said, I already celebrated. This one felt real. Nobody said much in the family chat. Our parents tried to get Stephanie to talk. She stopped answering messages. Later that night, after Claire went to bed, I sat with the extra copy of the recipe book on my lap. I flipped through it again, page by page. This time, it didn't feel like I was just the aunt. It felt like I was someone who never walked away. The family group chat went silent. Usually there'd be at least one message a day, photos of someone's dog, weekend plans, birthday reminders. After Claire skipped Stephanie's party, nothing came through for 3 days. Not even a meme from Uncle Mike, which practically never happened. At brunch that weekend, I met up with our parents. They acted normal at first, then started skimming around the topic. My dad just said, things got tense, before switching to the weather. I didn't push. I wasn't looking for an apology or a lecture. I just ate my pancakes and left early. The following Tuesday, I saw an email in my inbox with Claire's name. She had used her school account. It was just a short message, grounded, still not allowed to call. I miss you. That was it. Her phone was gone again. This wasn't the first time Stephanie had pulled this move, but it felt more serious now. Claire had been openly defiant at the baking party. I guess that didn't go over well back home. Jason messaged me once that week. Just a quick update. Claire was back to being quiet at home, not arguing. Just quiet. He didn't come out and say where he stood, but he mentioned that things had gotten complicated fast and he was just trying to keep the house calm. By Thursday, someone forwarded me a picture. Stephanie had thrown another birthday party. This one was at a fancy tea lounge downtown. Tiered trays, satin chair sashes, monogrammed cupcakes. I hadn't been invited. Neither had our parents, apparently. Just a handful of Stephanie's friends and their daughters. Claire was in the photo, white dress, hair done, sitting next to a big pink cake. But she didn't look like herself. She looked stiff, hands folded in her lap, smile too tight. That wasn't the Claire who baked lemon raspberry cupcakes with jelly beans as toppings. That wasn't the Claire who started sprinkle fights. That weekend, at a cousin's baby shower, someone pulled me aside. They didn't mean anything by it, just made a comment while passing the potato salad. Said Stephanie had told people I was getting too involved, that I was trying to act like Claire's second mom. I didn't respond, just kept eating. But the message was clear. Stephanie wasn't just keeping me out, she was rewriting the story. The next time Claire wrote to me, it was only 2 sentences. Mom's watching everything now. I'm not ignoring you. Her replies started taking longer. She didn't ask questions anymore, just gave short updates and emojis when she could. I didn't ask her to call. I didn't ask her to visit. I didn't ask anything. Instead, I put a small package in the mail. Inside was a simple bracelet, just silver, nothing flashy, with a tiny engraving on the inside, "You always have a place here." I didn't include a card. A week later, I got a letter in return. Claire had written it by hand, 1 page, neat cursive. She thanked me for the bracelet, said she kept it hidden in her backpack, said she missed baking, missed movie nights, missed laughing. She ended the note by writing, "I'm tired of pretending things are fine when they're not." That was all she said. No plan, no hint of what would come next. But the way she signed her name, with a little cupcake doodle beside it, told me everything I needed to know. When fall rolled in, school activities picked up. Claire got the lead in her middle school's fall musical, an updated version of Cinderella. She emailed me from her school account the same day she found out. The subject line just said, "I got it." And inside, "You always said I had a theater kid voice." I did it. I marked the performance dates on my calendar and didn't say anything to anyone else. I figured I'd just show up, sit quietly in the back, and support her like always. A week before the show, I got another message. Short. "Mom says you can't come. She says it'll cause a scene." That was it. Stephanie hadn't talked to me since the cupcake party. No messages, no calls, not even eye contact at family events. But Jason admitted she still kept tabs quietly, asking around or checking Claire's messages when she could. 2 days later, the school sent out a volunteer request. They needed parents to help paint sets, pass out programs, chaperone backstage. I signed up to help with set painting and got a polite rejection email that afternoon. We're limiting volunteers to parents and legal guardians this year. It wasn't hard to figure out where that came from. I sent a text to Jason, asking if Claire was okay. No response. Not even a read receipt. Later that week, we had a family dinner at our parents' house. Stephanie showed up last, stayed mostly quiet, and left early. Right before she left, she dropped a casual comment in front of everyone. "Claire's been more focused lately, less distracted." She didn't say my name, but the message was clear. That night, after everyone had gone, I helped clear the table. While drying dishes, I found a folded paper wedged under my purse. It was the printed program for the school musical. On the inside cover, stuck with a yellow sticky note, was one line written in Claire's handwriting. "Please come. Sit in the back. I'll find you." Opening night, I wore a plain black jacket, tied my hair back, and slipped in through the back doors 15 minutes early. I sat in the last row, far left side, behind a couple of dads who didn't look up from their phones the entire time. Claire was incredible. She wasn't just playing a part, she owned the stage. Every scene, every line, every song. She looked confident and steady and absolutely in her element. When the cast came out for curtain call, she scanned the crowd. It took her a second to find me, but when she did, her face lit up like I'd turned the stage lights on myself. She didn't wave or call out, just smiled, big and real. That was enough. I waited until most of the auditorium emptied before getting up. I didn't want to cause problems or cross paths with Stephanie. As I moved toward the doors, one of Claire's classmates stopped me near the exit. She pointed and said, "She talks about you all the time. You're the aunt with the bakery parties, right?" I nodded and said, "Something like that." That week, Jason dropped Claire off at my house after school. He didn't text ahead, just pulled into the driveway and Claire got out with her backpack. He gave me a nod before pulling away. I opened the door and Claire walked in like she'd done it 100 times. Shoes off, bag on the hook, straight to the kitchen. I turned on the kettle and started pulling out the ingredients for our usual chocolate chip cookie dough. We didn't talk about the show. We didn't talk about Stephanie. She rolled up her sleeves and started measuring flour, like nothing had changed. Because between us, it hadn't. It had been close to a year since the cupcake party. What started as a small gathering had turned into a full-on fracture. Things didn't blow up all at once. It happened in slow, quiet pieces, group chats thinning out, missed invites, one-word answers at family dinners. But the real turning point came one random Tuesday night when my phone lit up with Stephanie's name. She didn't waste time. Claire wouldn't be visiting me anymore. Not for baking. Not for school nights. Not for anything. That was her final word. 2 days later, Jason called. His tone was different from usual, more direct. Claire wasn't fighting at home, but she'd gone quiet. She skipped dinner twice, stayed in her room, didn't speak to anyone unless it was school-related. According to Jason, she wasn't angry. She just stopped showing up emotionally. He didn't say the word depressed, but he didn't need to. That weekend, Claire came to my place. Jason dropped her off with an overnight bag and a box of art supplies. No discussion. No drama. Just a nod. We didn't do anything fancy. We made grilled cheese and tomato soup. She picked an old rom-com from my DVD shelf and fell asleep halfway through. In the morning, we painted each other's nails. Hers came out smudged, mine somehow ended up with glitter in the cuticles. She stayed 2 nights. On Sunday evening, before she left, I gave her a small box. Inside was a cupcake-shaped keychain. Attached to it was a spare key to my house. I didn't make a speech, just told her that now she'd always know where she was welcome. She didn't say anything, just hugged me and put the key on her backpack zipper before walking out the door. The fallout hit faster than I expected. By Wednesday, a woman from our church mentioned to Stephanie that she'd seen Claire and me together outside the grocery store. Nothing dramatic, just Claire grabbing a bag of flour while I held a basket. That was enough. Stephanie left me a voicemail that evening. One line, no greeting. Just, you are not her parent. You are poisoning her against me. And I'm not letting it continue. I didn't respond. I didn't argue or explain. I knew it wouldn't change anything. By now, Stephanie had rewritten the entire story in her head, one where I was some threat to her authority instead of the aunt who raised Claire on frosting and paper crafts. That Friday, Claire emailed me from school. It wasn't a long message, just a file attachment, a school writing assignment. The title was A Place That Makes Me Feel Safe. She described my kitchen down to the smallest details. The owl-shaped timer, the mismatched mugs, the drawer with nothing but cookie cutters, the way the light hit the corner of the counter around 4 p.m. She ended the essay with one line, "When I'm here, I remember how to breathe." I read it once, then again, then again, then again after that. The next day, Stephanie sent a final message. This time, just a text. "If you keep pushing this, you won't like what comes next." I didn't delete it, I archived it. Right next to the essay. There wasn't a single part of me that wanted a war, but I wasn't backing down. Not now. Not when the only thing I was guilty of was making space for someone who needed it. It was a Saturday morning when the knock came. Jason stood at the door. No Claire, no small talk. Just a look that said he'd already played out every version of the conversation in his head. Inside, over coffee, he explained everything. Stephanie had pulled Claire from all her after-school activities. No more theater, no more art club, no explanation. At home, Claire barely spoke. She'd stopped joining family dinners, stopped playing music, just came home, went to her room, and shut the door. Jason had tried to talk with Stephanie. Every time, it turned into a dead end. She called him dramatic, said Claire was just moody. But Jason had seen the difference. Claire wasn't moody. She was disappearing. Then he asked me something he hadn't asked before. If I'd take Claire during the school week? Nothing permanent, just structure, routine, a place she could breathe. That night, Claire and I sat on the back porch wrapped in fleece blankets. We didn't talk much, just held mugs of tea and listened to the wind. I asked her if this was what she really wanted, not as an escape, not to run away. It had to be about building something solid. She said she slept better at my place. I thought better. Didn't feel like she had to stay silent all the time. By Monday, Jason had spoken to a family attorney. By Friday, everything was in writing as a temporary parenting agreement. He had shared custody rights, so he could make this call. Claire would stay with me during the school week. Jason would have her on weekends. Stephanie was notified, but she wasn't part of the meeting. The following weekend, she refused to pick Claire up. Jason went alone. There was no message, no call, no knock at the door, just absence. I didn't chase it. Neither did Claire. Our parents checked in with Stephanie, quietly. No pressure, no blame. Just one clear sentence: this isn't about control. It's about what Claire needs. In the weeks that followed, things changed fast. Claire's grades came back up. Her teachers emailed updates. She started sleeping through the night. Every Friday, we made something sweet: brownies, cookies, apple pie. Sometimes she invited friends. Sometimes she didn't. But every time, she smiled more. We didn't talk about Stephanie. I didn't bring her up. I didn't trash her. I didn't ask for loyalty. I just kept the lights on and the door open. By the end of the semester, Claire asked if she could stay full-time. Jason agreed. I said yes. I told our parents that I wouldn't be the one reaching out anymore. Not unless Stephanie acknowledged the damage. Not to me, to Claire. Until then, there was nothing to fix. Stephanie never replied. Claire's 15th birthday came. No message, no gift, no mention. We threw a small dinner. Jason, our parents, a few cousins, Claire's best friend. She decorated the table with yellow napkins and sunflowers. After the cake, Claire stood up. Calm, steady. She said, "I didn't pick a side. I picked a home. One that lets me be myself." And that was the last word anyone needed.